This is what American food looks like. This is the original. This is real America.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm exhausted. I'm freaked out. I'm hopeful, but scared like everybody else.
There's a lot of the unknown, but I'll tell you, I love the show. It really it took me away into the history of different immigrant cultures that really make up America, which really made the show so timely. And I love it because it's a history lesson, and a lot of what our news site is about is not about gossip, but it's about being educational. So I want to know, how did the concept come about? Because it's so timely. So when did you come up with the idea?
Honestly, I've been working on the show for 2 years. It started out as a cookbook. I was looking for, what I wanted to do my next book on, and I was really getting very knee deep in work with the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and immigration issues. I started getting involved after the Muslim ban, and then because of family separation at the border, and then when I made speeches for them or went to their rallies, I would always self-refer to my own immigrant story. I came here with my mom when I was 4 from India, and so obviously it's very personal to me. And then after a while, after I started finding out more and more, just looking at case studies with lawyers from the ACLU and stuff, I really wanted other immigrants to tell their story themselves. Um, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of vilification of immigrants coming out of Washington for political gain, and it offended me. And I wanted immigrants to speak for themselves because I knew they were capable of it, and they were going to be the most compelling voice and face
Right.
of this issue. And so, because people are used to me speaking in the language of food on TV, I decided to combine the cookbook idea with an immigrant show idea that I was already working on with my producing partner, and bring them together and do one idea. And my partner David Smith of Part Two Pictures, he actually was the one who said, this is our show, let's combine the two. And so I'm really proud of the show. I could have never imagined the climate it would come out in, obviously. I don't think any of us could have predicted this. But it is something, like Black Lives Matter, that has been going on for a long time. I wish I could say I could blame this administration for it, but I can't, because it's not all their fault. Immigration is what built this country, and certainly what shaped um, American food over the ages, over these centuries, whether it's German immigrants or Mexican immigrants or forced migration of African American enslaved people. And I wanted to look at that. I thought it was a really rich terrain to explore, and it was. Like, I learned so much this summer from filming this.
I bet. I didn't know about Little Lima and Jersey. I didn't know about so many things like Oscar Mayer. So I loved that it was a history lesson, and you learned about, the El Paso, the Frontera, right, to Oscar Mayer Wiener making the first plastic packaging. So obviously there's so many cultures, foodie cultures, that make up America. So how did you choose the topics for each episode?
It was hard. It was hard. We had like a list of 16 or 20 communities that we wanted to go to, but we were wanting to differentiate ourselves from doing like a survey show. There are a lot of travel food shows around, right? And they usually go to a city and they talk to you about what's cool and great or hip about that city, and then you see those places. I wanted our show to be different. I needed it to be different. And also I wanted to make a show I wanted to really watch, and so like, for instance, there's probably more Thai people in Los Angeles than there is in Las Vegas, but that choice to go to Las Vegas was very purposeful, because there's this whole enclave of Thai immigrants that came here in the 70s because of the Vietnam War, and they're predominantly female. So when you watch the Thai episode, it is completely female forward. And that was purposeful. And I also wanted to show the experience of these war brides when they came here, about how they were so warmly welcomed with open arms by their in-laws. You know, really, like, one woman lived with her in-laws for 2 years because she married a GI who was so young, and she was much older than him, and she had 4 kids. And, you know, her mother-in-law really took care of her and said, you know, I don't have any daughters. You are my daughter now. And I know I can't replace your mom, but, you know, and she tells that story with such grace and beauty. And I wanted to show that we as a country have a history and tradition of being broad-minded, of being open-hearted, and that those people there allowed me to tell that story and explore that particular theme. And then there was, of course, the theme of misrepresentation, you know. And so we went to talk to Iranians in Los Angeles because, you know, they've suffered not only because of the revolution, you know, discrimination, they've suffered because of everything that's happened after, because of Arabs, you know, like Americans not knowing the difference between Persians or Iranians and Arabs. They're very different cultures, they're different languages, the cuisine is different, you know, just the names are same because they're both Muslim predominantly.
Right.
But we also talked to a Jewish Persian woman who's never set foot in Iran, but is so entrenched in the culture because of how she's refound her heritage through food. And so, you know, there we were looking at that. We were looking at how hard it must be to be perceived as one thing when you are not that thing, and that is why you have left your country.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And you're coming back, you're coming here, there's a stereotype all over again. So as far as the you know, German, Peruvian, you know, Mexican, you really cover the gamut of food cultures. As a seasoned food connoisseur, did you find yourself learning surprising facts that you didn't know before while you were shooting the show?
I mean, I learned on every episode also because I had to do a lot of research, you know, and I was really nervous. So, like, when I'm nervous, I just try harder. But there's so many things. But I mean, pack rat is delicious.
How about guinea pigs?
Well, I didn't eat the Peruvian guinea pigs, but I saw them frozen. You saw me show them like
Yeah.
through the freezer. But I did eat pack rat on the San Carlos reservation, and it was delicious. And it didn't even taste gamey or anything. I mean, I've had venison, and that's been much worse. Like, this is just like a turkey leg, you
Right.
know, or chicken thigh. It was great.
That was actually my next question, which was, you know, out of all the dishes, which one was your favorite? Would you say it was the
Mhm.
pepper?
I mean, I had so many favorites. You know, I had a Peruvian babysitter named Elena when I was really small in New York. And I used to go to her house after school every single day until my mom came home from the hospital and picked me up on her way home from work. And so I was introduced to a lot of Peruvian foods just through Elena. And I didn't remember them, but going back to Little Lima and going to Los Inmortales was just such a beautiful experience. I remembered all these different chili sauces, yellow chili, red chili. I remembered all these dishes, like, and I'm talking about when I was 5 and 6 and 7, you know, really, really early food memories. And it all came back to me. And like, I remember she made really good chicken soup. And the specialty at Los Inmortales is the soup. It's really weird. They really make good chicken soup, you know, in that culture. So all these things like that, like Peruvian culture is also really, really diverse
Yeah.
because you have 3 different climates. You have the tropical climate, you have the mountainous climate, and then you have the seaside. And then you have all these people. In a way, Peruvian culture and food is a good way to almost explain what's going on in America, because there were a lot of Chinese there and they affected the cuisine. And so that part of Peruvian cuisine is called chifa. And then the Japanese were also there for a long time, and they really influenced the food, and they really influenced ceviche, for example. And that's why you have the Nikkei, which is the Japanese Peruvian food, you know. And you also have the Italians. Like, I had to stop speaking in Italian because one chef I interviewed, I spent time with his mom and his grandma at Los Immortales having lunch. And I would just start talking to the grandma in Italian because she spoke Italian because she married an Italian man. And my producer had to be like, do you need to speak in Spanish or English? Because you're going to confuse the audience. We're not doing something on Italian. And I was like,
it's amazing. I mean, Peruvian all together, it's just one big fusion. So the sort of talking about the pandemic and just touching on that quickly, a lot of restaurants and obviously, you know, food restaurant owners have gone through a hard time. So then there was that whole campaign of support your takeout. As the restaurants come back and the chefs and the foodies come back, what do you have any advice for the opening up?
I mean, look, I'm not a restaurateur, nor am I a chef. I'm a food writer, so I don't want to start doling advice I know nothing about. But I do think that we will have to reinvent the industry. I think, you know, real estate will be expensive. The margins for most chefs and restaurants was really low anyway. And a lot of restaurants have already closed. So for them to reopen, it's going to have to be really safe because it's also not worth it to reopen and then have to close a second time, which, you know, if we're looking at the numbers, they're shooting up again in all the states that reopened. And in a way that's terrible because we're washing away all the hard discipline we've had for the last 3 months. But I do think there will be room for a different kind of restaurant. It'll probably be like more like an Italian gastronomia model where it's prepared foods and there are a few, you know, tables there, but you can pick it up or whatever. And I think, you know, a lot of people will find ways to make money making food, but it will look different. And, you know, some big restaurants will come back because they'll have financial backing, but I think it's going to be a long time, and our new normal is not really fully formed yet.
During the pandemic, did you whip up any new recipes? Maybe sort of try something that you found along the road with Taste the Nation?
Sure, because like I said, it was going to be a cookbook anyway at first. So we were testing recipes before the epidemic, and, you know, we've been home and we've been doing that. We've been trying Thai recipes and gullah recipes. I made crab fried rice last night. It was delicious. The other day we made larb with chicken. You know, things like that. We did Persian food. So we are testing recipes. We're just trying to do it responsibly because I don't want to go to the grocery store too often.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Do you live in Los Angeles?
No, I don't. I live in New York.
Okay, I was going to say, do you have a favorite place in Los Angeles?
I do for Persian food.
Yeah? Okay. Oh,
yes. It's on Westwood Boulevard. It is called Shamshiri. S-H-A-M like Mary, Shiri, S-H-I-R-I. They're still doing takeout, so please call them. It is delicious. Get the fesanjun and get the kebabs.
Okay, done. We're going to do it. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the show. I love it. I think it's just what we need right now.
Thank you so much. Thanks for supporting Taste the Nation. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.